Great question. Great question. How does a company discover its story? Here's the real challenge. Most brands or companies, it really doesn't matter. What most brands don't do is they jump straight into the what. It's like, here, this is what we need to do, and this is how we're going to do it. So they produce a bunch of stuff. Typically in the past it's been 30s and 60s, TV commercials, and the essence of a brand gets lost in the why. So we need to go back to insights, we need to go back to understanding what consumer behavior is, and fundamentally understand it's changing, and why you should have the permission to actually have the attention of consumers. Because if you don't, then you can get out of it. It's actually not for you. But if you can get into it, then you have this amazing landscape that's 6 seconds long to bloody 13 hours. It really doesn't matter. If you can hold the attention, if you become relevant to a consumer in that dialogue, bloody genius. But also be prepared for people to talk back at you. So just think, oh, we're done, we'll sit back and watch it roll in. Absolutely not. The fundamentals are changing, where a consumer is talking about their own brand, and an audience, me, I have my own audience. So that's why you need to create advocacy with those guys, because there's so much distraction otherwise. So the key to it, in my mind, is good old-fashioned storytelling is changing. The formats have asked. Who embraces those are going to succeed. Forget about the what, forget about the how, just rock into the why. Lean into the why and get back to the, and you know what's hard work? Why's hard, man? So when a company comes or a brand comes and says, hey, we want to discover the story, how do we do it? I mean, it's really looking at insights first. It's understanding, you know, does what the brand believe it does it match up with what the consumer's perception is? So a lot of people look at things like clicks for performance, for ads. That's advertising. That's fine. But you got to go back and look at like your net promoter score. You got to look at your brand sentiment. You got to see what the social commentary is. So if you think you're X and you're actually, consumers believe you're Y, then maybe you're actually more Y. And maybe you should be storytelling around the Y, not the X. And that becomes really a fundamental issue, because most brands will not give you the permission to actually be radical. And it's permission-based culture within organizations and brands that actually succeed. And if you can instill that, and it doesn't come from the silver hair brigade, they're the guys that say, no, too hard. The risk takers are the people at the bottom of the organization that tend to want to make disruption, and disruption is really good for a brand. I do. Does every company have a story? Yeah, it does. Okay. It has a story because it doesn't matter really. If it's a cool company, fine, but not all brands were they weren't birthed as cool. They got there because they understood the culture of their brand in the currency of consumers. If you don't understand, you're never going to be cool. And it doesn't matter whether you're pharmaceutical. It doesn't matter whether you're insurance. In fact, everybody's job today, in my mind, it doesn't matter whether you're a marketer or a technician, you are a storyteller and you're in the creative business. You just happen to be a technician in the creative business for a pharmaceutical business. And I think for me, it's every brand doesn't start out being cool, it depends on how you make it. If you take the subtlety of what Dove have done over their period, so they understand empowering women. They actually, the insights that they tap into is, how do women feel about themselves? Instead of saying, hey, if you use this soap, it's not going to moisturize yourself, it's going to do this. Okay, whatever, dude. That's a feature. That's not a function of the brand. If we tap into the culture of women, if they feel like X and they should be feeling Y, then that's why the culture of storytelling for them is really, really important. If you look at the forensic sketch artist particular experience they built, this is not a 30-second TV campaign, man. This is an experience where women, not just women, men and women got to experience this incredible way of, you know, women particularly, because that's their audience, don't feel good about themselves. And so they did this juxtaposition. It's going to be the most viewed video in the world, in my mind. It's just incredibly empowered human storytelling that everybody can relate to. I can relate to it as a dude. And so that's a really good example of a brand that's stuck to their core, because 5 years ago they did the, hey, everybody got photoshopped. So they lent into the culture of what is it that people believe in. They lent into what people are saying about themselves, and they said, you know what, let's make it relevant. Let's not make it a dark corner conversation, let's pull it into light, and it became a phenomenon. And they also understood that because it became a phenomenon, it becomes a thing, as opposed to just become a 30-second commercial. So it becomes really, really important for them. Another brand that's done a great job of coming out of the woodwork is Chipotle. So the burrito company in the US. You know, who would have thought? Beans and bloody pork. But they've decided to take the ethical travel and say our brand is all about ethics. We're considered good food fast, not fast food. And we're going to talk about why and the reasoning and all those amazing things. So they created magic around their brand by saying we're going to be counterculture and we're going to embrace what people are actually thinking. And we're thinking about it in a way that feels very, very, very real. So they did that. They did that from saying, look, let's take it from farm to table, which is a term we all know, and they put it in the context of their brand, and they just create this amazing movement. Very emotional, very impactful. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll give you one more. Scrabble. So Scrabble have done this thing where they sponsored Wi-Fi. So, okay, public Wi-Fi, we fire it up, there's a whole bunch of Wi-Fi, this one happens to be public, no lock on it. So I can go in and I can look at this Scrabble Wi-Fi network, and then it asks me, through their interface, which looks like a Scrabble game, which we've all played, can you come up with a creative password? And the letters that you put together, I think it's 6, the highest number of, if you add it all together, the highest number, they'll give you in 3 minutes. So what they're doing is trying to use your grey matter to come up with a complex word, so you can use as many numbers as possible to come up with a high score to get a number of minutes free. Bloody genius, because it's authentic to the brand. It promotes exactly what they're trying to do with grey matter, and they're also trying to say, hey, the brand is now become a use to you, and that's become really, really important. Yeah, so what I focus on when you're telling your story, I think we've covered it, but there's a couple of things that I really think are important. Insights is the key to me. Make sure you're looking at the hard questions, you're asking the hard questions, and undeniably you're going to listen to them. And if you don't respond to those, then more fool you. The other thing about the story is, what is the consumer consuming? Are they into 6 seconds? Are they into disposable videos? Are they into pictures? Are they into animated GIFs? Good God. What are they into that makes it part of the counterculture? And what can you lean into then allows it to be authentic? Because that comes down to it, right? Don't just do it for the sake of it. If the people who are consuming your brand are using those tools and they're engaging in it, how can you authentically use those tools to engage in it as well? And then but it's got to come to the idea first. It's all about the idea. So if the idea is about a 4-hour movie, then good luck. Because a 6-second storyteller across Vine is probably not going to serve you well. But there are elements of it that could be done to promote the fact that it should be 4 hours, if that's the case. The challenge really is, don't do it as one and done. I think it's got to be played like a portfolio. It's an investment. So play many, many, many ideas and hope that one of them becomes contagious, then amplify it through traditional media. It's probably the best way that I could say that somebody should build it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.